Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Big Show, the podcast where we're going to dive right into the deep topics that matter most in all of our lives and in our relationships. I'm your host, Jimmy Smith, and alongside of me is my brilliant co-host, a man who is fresh back from heart surgery, and we are all very happy to hear that it was a raving success, our good friend, Dwayne Ward. Man, welcome back, Dwayne. How you feeling, buddy?
I'm feeling on top of the world. I'm alive. I'm 6 feet north, so
that's good.
I'm happy as can be. So it's all good. And who's this guy below us? What's going? What the hell's going on here? I'm gone for a couple of weeks, and what the hell's going on here?
Yeah, so I didn't know if you were ever coming back, so I've been auditioning for your replacement.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I mean he doesn't have the goatee like you or the gray. You know, right. we got to throw some glasses on him and grow some hair, but you know.
I'm feeling a little left out here.
Chuck kind of looks like Dwayne Ward after you order him off of Wish.com. You know, it's like but everybody, today what we're going to do is we're going to tackle a topic that's bound to stir up some emotions, and the topic is this damages your relationship even more than cheating. And while infidelity is often seen as the ultimate sign of betrayal, there are other, even overlooked behaviors that can erode the foundation of trust and intimacy even more profoundly than cheating. And to help us navigate this complex subject, we have a very special guest joining us today. Please welcome an avid listener of The Big Show and a big supporter of father's custody rights, Mr. Chuck Dizzle. Welcome to the show, sir. How are you today, man? I'm glad to have you.
I appreciate you having me, and thanks for letting me audition. And I had to quickly come to the conclusion that I'm not Dwayne. So, and he's a little bit better looking than me too, unfortunately. So, I think this will be a short-lived experiment. But thank you for the opportunity to come in.
Dwayne is strappingly handsome, I suppose. So, but Chuck, you've been a watcher of The Big Show for quite some time now, and you and I have been talking, on email and whatever. And, I said, hey, dude, you should come on the show one day and just kind of sound off and, help a couple guys act like men for an hour or so and have some fun. So we're glad that you're here, dude.
Yeah, I think when you're in the audience and you get an opportunity to join the content you guys are providing, I think one, it's innovative. I think two, it's fun. And three, there's just no ego. We're going to learn something. We're going to get educated on a topic we may or may not know. The topic tonight, I'm really looking forward to discussing it with you all. And I'm really grateful to be a fan of the show for over a year. And, this is the one show I can watch where we get to be proud to be a man. And yeah, I don't know why that's such a negative thing, but I've got my man card out and I'm ready to roll.
Yeah, I appreciate that, buddy. We try to be an advocate for the guys out there. There's not a lot of shows that promote masculinity and talk about the issues that guys go through. So Dwayne and I try to do that.
And you do a phenomenal job at it. So thank you.
And, I wanted to bring you on also because this topic today is one that's probably going to hit close to home for you as well, Chuck. For anyone out there who's probably over the age of 25, 30 years old, mm-hmm. They've probably been in a handful of relationships in their life and, have seen the ups and the downs of how to navigate those relationships. And they've seen, the nature of women and they've seen the nature of men and they've, seen how relationships can start off like a bottle rocket and you think it's going to go well and then it fizzles out pretty fast, unfortunately. and then you're kind of left looking back and scratching your head, wondering
What the hell
what
happened?
could have happened. And for guys, at least I'll speak for guys, a lot of us who want to become better will look back on those relationships and try to grow and learn from them and stuff. And whenever you talk about relationships and why they end, or when you hear people talk about these relationships and why they've ended in the past, you always kind of tend to hear a lot of the same stuff, which is like, oh, well, toxic behavior and infidelity, lack of communication, things like that. But, in my opinion, from doing counseling for so long, there's been really one major thing that we're going to talk about today that has been the lion's share of the real reason why relationships split up. But before we get into that, what I want to do is I want people to kind of grab their headphones. I want you guys to kind of settle in, and we want to kind of give an enchanting, transformative episode of The Big Show today, because the first question I want to ask everyone listening is, have you guys noticed that relationships can be a tough thing to keep going?
Okay. It's softball night. Okay.
Yeah, I'm throwing out all the soft, easy ones,
Yeah. Thank you for making it my trip back easier. Other than hit some hard stuff. Yeah. It's always usually one-sided. It's always usually, if you're not doing everything the girl wants, then all these problems happen. Guys, we get married and want things to be the same. Girls get married and want everything to change.
Yeah.
Or they get into a relationship, I should say. And it's always the guy having to do all these things to keep the magic alive.
It's true, man. One of the things, like I said, that when you talk to people and you listen to their stories about their relationships, or if you're on dates with ladies and you ask them why their relationships ended in the past, you'll hear a lot of them kind of mention a lot of the same things, the cheating, the lying, the abuse. But why don't we ever talk about the most common killer of them all, the one that we never pay too much attention to, but it always kills a relationship in the long haul, and that is resentment.
Resentment. Okay. I was wondering because cheating's a big one. That's one we all hear about, but resentment, yeah, makes sense.
Cheating is kind of like, when you hear about a tragic accident that might have happened on the highway, the ones where the motorcyclists get into accidents and the guy or gal's not wearing a helmet and it's tragic, those seem to get a lot of the news attention because, it's kind of a big deal. But it doesn't happen as frequently as car accidents will happen. I'm referring to motorcycle accidents.
Right.
Well, when you look at the statistics, cheating doesn't happen as much as you would think it would.
No,
cheating only happens about 24% of the time.
Right.
And not all of those times do the person get caught, or, is it the reason why it ended? But when you listen to people talk about relationships, you almost think that it happens every single time. So then you listen to toxic behaviors and narcissism and all the buzzwords of 2024. And then you kind of you sit back and you think, well, relationships have been ending since the dawn of time. But there's a common theme that if you really think about it, it's the one major thing that really gets us, a lot of us, over time. And that's the resentment value. And what happens is when you have a lack of communication, the two of you start to kind of go your opposite directions, and that resentment kind of, starts to settle in. Have you guys ever heard of a guy named Stephen Covey?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I used to have his little, his book, the Stephen Covey and the 7 habits.
That's right. Yeah. It's the 7 habits of highly effective people.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of my favorite books. And, Stephen Covey introduces the concept of the emotional bank account as a metaphor for the amount of trust that's been built up in a relationship. The emotional bank account kind of grows with deposits and it shrinks with withdrawals. And I've mentioned this on my podcast and even in my teachings a few times before. And what Covey outlines, he outlines several key deposits that build trust and goodwill. So when you think about it, guys, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is because guys like to take things that are complicated and try to make them simple. And women, not all, but women tend to make things that are simple complicated. And so guys enjoy simple. It's true. It's true.
Wow, mind blown. Didn't know that one.
It's a new thing. But and so what I want to do to help the guys listening is I want to kind of take something that's very complex, like a relationship that's multifaceted, and try to make it as simple as I possibly can. And since guys, you know, have to kind of know about finances and they kind of have to know about money and things like that, let's use this metaphor that Stephen Covey used in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, called an emotional bank account. So here's what I mean. Picture that you and your girl, or you and your boss, or you and your children, or you and your friends enter into a friendship, relationship, fatherhood, partnership, whatever. And you open up a bank account, right? And in the beginning, it starts off with a neutral or zero balance. But every time you praise someone, every time you spend time with someone, every time someone watches that your actions matches your words, those are going to be small deposits into that bank account. And maybe you give her flowers and it's like a $10 deposit. And maybe you pick her up because her car broke down on the side of the highway, and that's a $1,000 deposit because that's a big deal for her. These are deposits into the emotional bank account. And so what happens over time is when you start to deposit enough into this emotional bank account, then if you make a mistake, guys, if you say something that's off center, if you say something that maybe she doesn't like, or you have to discipline your kids, or whatever the case could be, what would be considered
What's
a
for dinner?
withdrawal? Huh?
What's for dinner?
Yeah. Why aren't you in the kitchen? Things like that.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
How about a sandwich with cheese this time? Whatever you want.
Right.
But whenever you, say something or do something that would be considered a withdrawal, a negative, if you will,
right,
it's not going to ruin the entire relationship, because there's been enough deposits made into this emotional bank account that a small withdrawal from time to time is not going to bankrupt this entire account.
Right.
Now, there are things that are so vast, so big, that if you did them one time, like infidelity, right? If you get caught cheating or something, depending on the person, most people would see that as a deposit that's so large that it's most likely going to completely bankrupt the entire account.
Right.
And sometimes when you're with someone for many, many years, 10, 15 years, and one person gets caught cheating, you've got so much invested in this account that it doesn't always bankrupt it, but boy, it brings it really close to zero, right?
Bring CD down to like 0.001% return.
Yeah. So it absolutely affects the emotional bank account. And so that's how I kind of want you guys to look at relationships, no matter what the relationship really is. Now, cheating and abuse and, toxic behaviors, those are large withdrawals. But what we don't really talk about a lot, guys, is the resentment part. Okay. Mm-hmm. Resentment is not a large withdrawal, but it's a withdrawal. Now, think of resentment like this. Okay. Let's say you're putting stuff into the top of this bucket, good stuff, right? You're investing in the relationship. You're doing the right
holding
things,
the door open, blah,
all
blah,
the things that, you would want to do to make the relationship fester and prosper. Resentment is like you poking a hole in the bottom of the barrel and there's a leak in the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you don't continue to add stuff to the top in a faster rate than that's coming out the bottom, then you're going to reach a zero balance eventually.
Yeah.
And it's not going to happen overnight, and it's not going to take a few months. It could take years and years, but eventually that water is going to run dry.
Yeah.
So you either have to fix the problem, plug the hole, or you have to continue to do more and more and more to offset the resentment. And what happens generally whenever people get into relationships over time is they're not really adding a whole lot anymore. In the beginning, it tends to happen that way. But over time, when you kind of settle in, you do a little less than what you probably did the first few years. And so what happens is that resentment starts to catch up, and then that's when relationships ultimately end. When you think about what are some deposits and withdrawals, let me go over a few things that would be, deposits that could build trust and goodwill. Okay. These will be things such as understanding the individual, like seeking to truly understand others and their unique perspectives and feelings, attending to the small things, small acts of kindness and consideration, keeping your commitments will be one, honoring promises and commitments that build trust and reliability, clarifying expectations. Excuse me. So, got a little cough. Been fighting, but ensuring clear and mutual understanding and expectations to avoid misunderstandings. Things like showing personal integrity will be one. Those are, aligning actions with values and principles that foster trust and respect. And what else could be one? Apologizing sincerely. You and I talked about this a few podcasts back, right?
Yeah.
So whenever you make a mistake or you make a withdrawal, Dwayne had a really good point like a month or so ago. You acknowledge your mistakes and you make sincere apologies to mend any trust that's been broken. Mm-hmm. So those are things, guys, that you can do to make deposits into your emotional bank account. Now, conversely, Covey also explains that withdrawals occurs whenever we fail to understand and respect the other person's perspective, neglect small gestures of care and appreciation, if you break promises or fail to meet commitments, if you create misunderstandings through unclear communication. You can make a withdrawal if you act incongruently with your values or your principles. And if you, like Dwayne's point, refuse to apologize or acknowledge mistakes, those would be things that would be withdrawals from the emotional bank account.
Right.
So I guess what I'm saying is by maintaining a high balance in the emotional bank account, relationships, they can withstand difficulties and challenges more effectively. And it can foster trust, cooperation. So as I mentioned, this is not only because it does help to put our relationships into a more perspective and help kind of simplify it, but I'm mostly mentioning this because when we talk to others about our failed relationships, we hear a lot about the two big whoppers of relationship killers, which are infidelity and miscommunication.
Yeah.
But the truth is, infidelity isn't the leading cause of breakups. Yes, it's what everyone wants to talk about.
It's a nuclear option.
Yeah.
If you want to mess it up, that's how you do it. There's no coming back.
Jimmy, can I jump in for a second, sir?
Go ahead. What you got?
So back in 1969, and we go back 54 years, there was only, we talk about resentment, and there was only two ways to get out of a marriage in 54 years ago. It was adultery, and it was you mentioned something, but abandonment. Unless you were an adulterer or you abandoned your marriage, you could not get a divorce. So in 1969, when Ronald Reagan passed no divorce, do you guys can I give you just 30 seconds where that came from?
Go ahead.
His wife, Jane Wyman, had unfairly accused him of being mentally cruel and abandoning his marriage. So he actually came up with that legislation from a marriage he had back in the 1940s. So I know that we're talking about resentment, but if we get a little history lesson, now we're motivating women to get divorced because they get incentives, they get financial windfalls. But if we really look at where this came from, unless you abandoned your spouse or you committed adultery, you didn't have to worry about a lot of the issues we have now. So that's why resentment is such an important topic to talk about. And I just wanted to give the audience a little bit of a history lesson on why we are where we are today. It goes back to the 1950s.
And so in your opinion, Chuck, do you think that law of is it a law? Is that what you would call it, a law?
So no fault divorce, the last state that passed no fault divorce, it's every state in the country has it. In 2010, the state of New York was the last state to pass it. And the reason why this is so important is that this is why we are where we are. We can now weaponize marriage. I saw a couple things where you want to talk about resentment. There was a wife that signed a prenup. The prenup had details. If she weighed too much, she would get less alimony. Now, where would that not cause resentment? And then you got the soccer player who put everything in his mother's name. Now, if you're married to someone and you tell them if they put on too much weight, they're going to get this amount of less alimony, you are setting yourself up. And the judge looked at it and he wanted to throw it out, but it was a prenup, and he had the right attorney to say this is a legally binding document, and you put on 80 pounds. You don't get anything. I'm sorry. So it's unfortunate that we have to educate men, and I guess women too, but for the majority part, men, that if you don't have a prenup, you don't get to go back to an old society time where if you're staying loyal and if you're not abandoning, these are easy things for us as men. We love to be loyal. We love to be present for our children and our spouse. But we have to realize it is a new journey. It is a new venture out there. It is the wild, wild west, and the women are going to incentivize it. They're going to get a windfall from it. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to go on, but I just wanted to give the audience a history lesson there, because it's really important to why we are where we are today and why resentment is so important.
Yeah, well said. Well said. And I would think that New York would probably be one of the first ones to adopt that. I'm surprised to hear that it was the last one to adopt it.
Yeah, it hit California first and then just spread like locusts throughout the rest of the country. I'd argue the beginning of the end happened with the ratification of the 19th Amendment, but we want to be on for next week. And I know that if I started going on my tinfoil hat stuff with the 19th Amendment, we would be out of here. So anyway.
But for a legislator to get butthurt, that's wild. Like a legislator gets butthurt. Ronald Reagan gets butthurt that he gets jacked around by his old lady, and he passes legislation that affects every man in this country today. It's kind of sad.
Yeah. And and that's kind of why I was bringing up what I was bringing up, because whenever you talk to people about why their relationships ended, you don't really hear abandonment. You never hear a woman. I've never heard a woman ever say, "My husband abandoned the marriage. He just walked out." Gosh, maybe 1 out of 100 or 1 out of a few hundred. But, usually it's like, oh, it's just because he's a cheater or he beat me up or things like that. And, I just don't see women walking around with black eyes, and
yeah, you look at the data, and I have actually ready to go here. One of my favorite things to show just how insane. Women say one thing and mean another, but do you have the famous little thing here where women can't even decide when it's wrong for who has an affair and what that means. It's that whole words mean something, and when women talk about you're abusing me, you have to then uncover what that means, and 9 times out of 10 it's just because she didn't get what she wanted. I don't know how far you want to affix the tinfoil hats here, but when you're talking about making a woman happy and doing whatever, the goalposts always move. And I'll give an easy point here. So when you first got in your relationship, getting her roses, or everything was new, and the butterflies and the fuzzies were all there, and then it becomes, that's not good enough. Then it has to become this, and it has to become that, and it's got to be the next greatest thing. And then when you finally can't do it anymore, then you're a loser, then you're toxic, then you're a horrible person, and then you get the old irreconcilable differences piece of paper in the mail.
And everyone seems to put that down.
Yeah, and the hardest part about that moving goalpost is that no matter how steadfast you are, or no matter how loyal you are, or no matter how committed you are, or no matter how much you'd like to, be adaptive with your partner and work on some healthy things like work on poor communication, work on unmet expectations, work on feeling taken advantage of, work on unhealthy patterns and lack of intimacy. Even when you work on all those things, if she's not happy, she's going to get a financial windfall. So it's hard to adapt to this. Those were my top 5. Sorry, Jimmy, I had to get those in there. Those are my top 5 of things I think we could work on. And I just mean, like, as those goalposts move and shift, the courts are like, come on, bring me the conflict, bring me the issues. We want to get paid, and it's going to be generational wealth that's going to get stolen because of it.
Yeah. And when you look at the stats of how this next decade is going to unfold, we're going to see a huge decline in marriages.
We've already seen it.
Absolutely.
We're going to see a huge decline in children being born.
Already see it.
And,
Yep.
And it's just like, I think that we're going to see an increase or an incline in unhappiness amongst people. I think we're going to see.
Already see it.
Yep.
Mental health
already there.
Yeah, mental health's an epidemic in this country right now. And where's that coming from? There's no family unit. There's no family unit.
I mean, men and women need each other. as much as we all, like when you look at the red pill spaces, a lot of guys will talk shit and they'll say, F these 304s, we don't need them, get your passports, whatever. And look, there's definitely truth to some of that stuff. But here's the thing about it, guys. I mean, we need women. Everything that we do in life is derived around making the people that count on us and depend on us happy. And that's our woman and that's our children. And I am a firm believer that men are going to have a worse time in life if we're not building or creating something. And that could be your body, that could be a business, that could be a family. And a lot of times it's a family plus something else.
Right.
And what we're seeing is a lot of guys who are in, let's call it 35 and under, 30 years old and under. These guys out there, they are not wanting to jump into relationships with women who already have a family started, single mothers. You constantly hear them like, this ain't the 70s anymore where it's admirable to do that. These kids nowadays, I mean, guys in their 40s like myself, we're like the last generation that's willing to take that on. These guys 30 and 20, they have a bad disdain for that. I mean, and I'm not saying that's necessarily my perspective. I'm just saying from what I'm listening to and watching, these guys are, man, they're not playing around. And the amount of dudes, I want to say it's 54%. Don't quote me on that number, but it's somewhere a little bit better than 50 of guys between 18 and like 28. They have opted out of dating altogether.
62 or 67% of all men in that age group have said, we're done. We're monks. We're not doing this. It's not worth the squeeze. I got to tell you, I mean, I see why, because I was telling you off camera earlier or late last week, I got to do some interviews with our state's beauty pageant nominees. And I'm asking them questions, and I was asked, not to make anyone upset or cry or anything, which I found kind of funny, but went with it. And I was asking these women questions that are, and I had them lean towards things that I would be interested in, and the answers I got were downright frightening. The way they're thinking, they're repeating all the same nonsense they've been told by the stunning and brave crowd, but it's not. They're not learning. They haven't went, ooh, we've made a mistake. I had one hopeful tell me that she is all for no fault divorce, that it was a great thing. But still keeping all the other traditional pieces of it that, of course, I'd listen to her truths and all that nonsense. But yeah, it's not getting any better. And the men are going, well, we've tried to explain this to you for decades. You're not going to get a clue here. And again, we have the data. Women are becoming more and more liberal. And they've got so much word salad. They'll say things like, I'm a traditional woman, or I'm a obedient woman, or whatever. And all the actions they do are contrary to that. It's all word salad. It's all useless words by usually women. And again, the men have just said, you know what? I'm tired of using the crayons here to explain it to you. I'm out. If you can hate, send everything to, pissedoffparent.com that you hate. I'll show you all the data, all the facts, all the whatever, like I normally do, and tell you to shut the hell up, because it's all factual data. Men have just said, we're done. 62 to 67% said, you aren't figuring this crap out. We're done.
And Dwayne, when you were talking about the word salad, like just they'll spit whatever out. And if you peel back any one of the sentences,
oh God,
what I love about Jimmy and what I love about Dwayne is the courage, first of all, to bring this random dude on. Thank you, by the way. But no, like when they I want to share, and Jimmy will appreciate this. Like I'm on a dating site. I'm out there just doing my thing, and I'm like, if I peel back one of those word salads, so you say you're a traditional woman, you're on your second baby daddy, and you got multiple kids, or you say that I want someone loyal, you've cheated on the last 3 people you've been with, or you say that you want me to take you out. What are you doing? What do you have to offer me? What do you have to offer me? So here are my kids. Here's my bag. And even if you're single, you're single for a reason. And I'm not trying to be rude, and I'm not trying to be misogynistic, but what do you have to offer the men out there? And when you talk about the statistics about these guys are saying hell no, we've only had 2 presidents in history. 2 presidents in history get divorced. Now, one of them is Ronald Reagan. Do you guys know who the other one is?
Well, Trump.
There you go, Donald Trump. So the legislators, as much as the legislators are out of touch, we've done a really nice job. Jimmy went over to Europe and he did a convention, I believe. You went all the way out to Europe and did a convention. Hey, guys, we're not misogynistic. These are what our issues are. I heard what Jimmy said. I listened to every single word. He was polite. He was professional. And I'm not here to kiss his ass. That's not why I'm on here, to be Jimmy's.
That's my job. That's my job, Chuck. My job is to kiss his ass.
That's the Wayne's job.
He was calm. He was cool. He was collected. And being a man, it's not a, we're not submissive. We're men. We're alpha. That's not a weakness. And then you don't get to chop the word salad of, well, you're too control. We're not controlling. We're leaders. And again, we go back to adultery and abandonment. If we weren't doing those two things, y'all knew your place. And I'm not being misogynistic. We knew our place to lead, protect, and provide. But y'all don't understand. This is what we are basing off. And then we got to talk about Harrison Butker talking about the traditional role of a woman. Why are we embarrassed to talk about the traditional values of a woman? Why is that an embarrassing thing? I want to go out and provide. I was making 6 figures, and my ex-wife said, "I don't want you anymore." So she didn't want when she wanted to go off the social welfare, and she saw what the social welfare got her. And
yours too.
It doesn't support her because now everything's been taken away from her. That's what the courts are for. That's why we appeal things. So I'll stop there. But to me, I'm going to say it on the air. I want to say this on the air. Harrison Butker's a hero to me. Love the dude. And I'm sorry if that pushes away our women audience. It's not my audience, but I love women. I think I respect them. They're important. They have a huge role. Like, ladies, like, let's get our shit together here. Like, let's think about the word salad we're throwing at these men, and let's have an accountability, because we really need to sit back and really take a step back here. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't mean to get going.
You're good, dude. You're good.
Preach.
And you know, I've said this a few times, ladies, you have to understand that these guys are listening to the words that are coming out of your mouth. And there's a huge risk for a man to take on a wife, because when a man decides to take on a wife, he's basically saying a lot of things. And it goes beyond just him saying, I'm going to take care of you, and I'm going to take care of our children. I'm going to take care of our dogs, and I'm going to work 4 jobs should I have to. And if you become paralyzed, I'm going to wipe your butt for the rest of your life. It goes beyond that. It goes against biology. And what I mean by that is it's men's proclivity to populate the world. That's why men like multiple women. And so when a man loves a woman so much where he says, I'm going to marry you, then what he's essentially saying is, I'm no longer going to be entertaining any of these other broads out there. And no matter if a more beautiful woman or a better woman comes along, my eyes are only going to be for you.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot that a man takes on. And then with the, laws that Chuck was stating, we live in a society where a man can literally come home from work, catch his wife in bed with another man. She could leave him, and then 90% of the time she'll get alimony. 80 something percent of the time she'll get the kids. He'll have to split everything that he ever has, and he didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
And it's not that I want to beat this over the heads of everyone. The reason why I do this podcast with Dwayne is not because we dislike women. What we dislike is the narrative that men are awful, that men can never do any good. I mean, as a man, you're raised to be a man, you are raised to have to walk across the street if you are walking behind a woman, because she doesn't know if you're going to jump on her and grape her in an alleyway. You're assumed to be a rapist. You're assumed to be a narcissist. You're assumed to be an abuser. You're assumed to be a bad person. You're assumed to be a child, taken advantage of person. You're like, guys can't even get a job as a babysitter because we're all assumed that we're going to be doing something awful.
I've told you my story at the church I volunteered at. I've been taking care of the little kids there during normal church time. And I came in one day and I was there was a sign that said men have to be with somebody else if they're going to watch the children, not for women, but men. And I, of course, brought it to the head pastor. He gave me the, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, you know what? I'm out. If that's the way you're going to do things, I'm out. But yeah, men can't get a fair shake. They never have.
So Dwayne, I walk my dogs today. I walk them 8 to 12 times a day. And do you know what happens in one of the places where I walk them? They have 2 women, and these are lesbians. And I have no issue with lesbians. I don't know what the correct term is.
I'm a lesbian. I love women.
So these are 2 women that the wife had kids with a Marine, and she didn't need him anymore. So she found a woman partner, and that's fine. And the children always want to come running to pet my animals. And I tell them the rules. Unless mommy is in the yard or unless there is an adult present, you can't come talk to me, and you can't come pet my animals, because I'm not going to put myself in that situation. And I just want to say real quick, someone named General Miller commented about our vows aren't taken seriously. What is the most important thing about your vows in a Christian wedding?
Till death do part.
It's till death do us part.
Yeah.
And if we're not abandoning the marriage and we're not committing adultery, till death do us part.
Rich or
and that
poor.
word salad, and the word salad's going to come out. So now we go past 2010. We're now educated. Most guys aren't. We're now educated if we need a prenup. Check this out. Well, you don't trust me. Why do I have to do a prenup? Well, you don't trust me. How come we don't have to do this? Well, let's take a time out here. No, I don't trust you. Because if I did in 1950s and all way back when in time, if I didn't abandon you or commit adultery, we was going to work through our shit.
Right.
Now you go out and get a vibrator. You go out and get a woman partner to do whatever you want to do to you, or you find somewhere else to get it from. You're going to get your needs met, and I'm going to get left out in the lurch, and you're going to get a financial windfall. These are not misogynistic things. Guys, I'm here to tell you, I live this every day. I asked a girl the other day, she's like, well, I just need someone. I need someone to be loyal. I said, okay, what exactly does that entail? Take you out. Okay, so what happened to the husband? Oh, I'm a domestic violence survivor. Okay, so what was the crime? Yeah, I'm a domestic violence survivor. No. Word salad. We're gonna wind this back. So what was he arrested for? Yeah, I got the kids. I got child support and custody. Okay, so you hijacked the marriage, got your financial windfall, but you need someone loyal and you need someone dedicated. No, you're just gonna go do the same thing because that works. So I'll stop talking. I get going, guys. I'm sorry. I get going.
The passion, baby. The passion.
I'm trying to find the 84% of all domestic violence or claims are false, and they're done primarily for divorce. Those two things fall in line, and then that's used to get the upper hand successfully in all the divorces. I mean, we have all the numbers. I mean, we've got all the receipts for this information, and all women can come back with is, the palm to the face or the eye roll or the not. I'm different. Or I'm like, I always tell them, look, if 5 of the 6 chambers have a bullet in it, you ain't playing Russian roulette. That's just the way it goes. And it's just, it's nonsense. And the thing that the girls that are all upset on here, and we got comments in here, is y'all created this. You did this. We're just responding to your nonsense.
I didn't mean to get him going. I'm sorry, guys.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't mean to get him going.
Women have always been the people who make the rules for the game, and the guys have always had to play the game. And women are going to make the rules, and they're going to change the rules as the decades go, but guys are going to adapt, and we're going to still win. Somehow we're going to still win out of this. And if we can't win because the game's rigged so badly against us, then we're just going to not play the fucking game. Yep. That's what's going to happen.
And Jimmy, you're going to love this. And guys, this is 30 seconds, I promise. Ex-wife got a post-marital asset. They took that back. Ex-wife got child support, got turned into fraud. Ex-wife got the kids. She's been to court 80 times with my ass. No, I'm not threatening this. No, this is inevitable. It's going to happen. And I'm just going to tell you right now, these men, Terrence Champagne out of Texas, these guys, brilliant. He's a savant, smarter than than your 5th grader. But Jimmy, I love the passion. Just like, we're not going to keep losing. Like we're getting smarter and we're organizing. And for the women that have problems, take a look in the mirror. Why is someone like me telling you that I never committed adultery? I never abandoned my marriage. I made 6 figures. I gave my ex-wife a $500,000 house. I loved her. I treated her good. I treated the kids phenomenal. And she weaponized that because society said in 2010, every state says you don't have to have a reason, but it's not equal. If that then goes into that, you get your divorce. It's all windfall for women. There's no windfall for men. Go ahead.
But Chuck, man up. Just man up.
Yeah,
yeah.
I know.
Not all women are like that.
And like I do things like I'll pull up my playbook right now. And I'm so sorry, guys, but I'm going to put my playbook right on the map. I go to candlelight.com. I get 50 candles for $3. I'll get $100 worth of candles. I'll go to amazon.com. I'll buy a 50 pack of cards. Y'all going to get a candle? Y'all might get a card. That's all you're getting. I ain't taking you out. And I'm not trying to be rude, but what are you taking me out? No.
Ooh.
Why do I have to take you out? You're going to get a candle and a card. Derek Jeter did that. Gift bags.
I'm writing that down. Hold on.
Y'all going to get a
date
candle?
night with the missus. Hold on.
Y'all going to get a candle? Y'all going to get a card? And that's it. And I got cameras in my house. So if you want to start telling stories, we can go to the camera. I had one woman. She said, "I'm not leaving." So she said, "I'm not leaving." Sorry, I don't know.
No. I'm writing this down, guys. Write this down.
I said, well, camera 2, 4, and 7 are looking right at you. So if you're not going to leave, why are we not leaving? Well, I'm going to say you did something. I said everything's recorded right now. You're on a camera frequency. So and they actually think that something's going to work. So anyway. I'm sorry, guys. I'll stop.
Candles the card. Dating Ideas by Chuck Dizzle.
I like it. I tried to write it all down. I tried to write it all down, but I forgot what he said, so I just drew a penis.
And hold on, let's mirror to the bolted bed. So let's mirror to the bolted bed.
Oh, that is one way to get.
Are those Christmas lights on your bed, bro?
Hold on, wait. I'm writing that down.
How many ho-ho-hos have you had in that thing?
Christmas.
We got a hog farm out here, Jimmy.
Oh my goodness, man.
All right. So candles in a card.
Chuck's
Christmas
never coming
lights on the bed.
Chuck is never coming on this show again, right?
Pretty much his last hurrah on the show, yeah. look at Jeremy B coming through the 25-25 for Chuck Dizzle. Nice. And Jeremy, we heard you donated some money last week, so thank you, Jeremy B, for all the money you donated last week. Look at Mike Kellum. Mike's like, what is that yellow stain on Chuck's bed?
Oh yeah, it's
probably one of the drunk girls he had over probably peed the bed.
Sorry, guys. I do love women. We keep it moving. You come consensually
with the candles and the card.
You come consensually and you leave consensually, and everybody wins. So it's like, and everyone's like, "You must be paying for that. You must be paying for that." No, they get a card, they get a candle. I don't pay for it. It's like you ain't getting Chuck's bucks. Chuck's bucks.
But whenever you talk about the relationships on these dates and things like that, they'll talk about the big things like miscommunication, infidelity. But that infidelity, it only constitutes about 24% of the reason why people end things. So what about the other 76%? Why don't we talk about the other 76%? Why do those get labeled as miscommunication or irreconcilable differences? And we all know relationships are intricate webs of emotions, trust, and communication. Yeah. In few other domains of human interaction are these elements as central and as complex as romantic relationships. We all know that trust is the bedrock of any successful partnership. Yep. But what if there was something else? What if there was something like lurking beneath the radar of infidelity and miscommunication? What if there was something that posed a greater threat to the sanctity of relationships, the sting of betrayal, the hurt of a lie, the sorrow of a loss, all powerful and all consuming moments in our romantic journeys? But what if the most dangerous thing to our relationships is not a single action or event like people would lead you to believe it was, but rather the slow erosion of something that we often take for granted, and that's resentment. So let's talk about how that builds up, because we all have played this story out. Resentment is that quiet, corrosive force that can eat away at the bonds that we share with our partners. It doesn't announce itself with the fiery passion or the tremulous drama of the typical soap opera. Instead, it kind of simmers and it festers and it spreads. Resentment is that result of unvented emotions, the unmet expectations, and the gradual accumulation of grievances. Think about a time when your partner neglected to do something that you considered was important, or perhaps when you felt unseen or misunderstood? Initially, it might have seemed insignificant, like almost trivial, but over time, if it was left unaddressed, it becomes like a sensation at the back of one's mind, like a bone of contention that colors every interaction you have with them. And resentment in relationships is a common theme that can arise from various situations, often involving unmet needs, unresolved conflicts, or perceived injustices. Here's a few stories that I had written down that illustrates just how resentment can develop and actually affect a relationship. So this story right here is from Mike and Sarah. Sarah and Mike have been married for 10 years. And in the early years of their marriage, Mike promised Sarah that once they were financially stable, they would travel the world together, which is something that Sarah always dreamed of. And as the years went by, as they achieved financial stability, Mike's career demands increased as well. He started working longer hours and often canceled a lot of their travel plans.
What?
Well, that made Sarah feel that her dream was slipping away and kind of began to feel neglected and unimportant. And Sarah's resentment grew because she watched other couples on social media enjoy their adventures while she stayed at home, and she started to withdraw emotionally. And then their communication deteriorated. Now, Mike's completely unaware of the depth of her feelings. He's confused. He's confused by her coldness and her distance. And how it was resolved is, after a particularly heated argument one day, she finally expressed her feelings of resentment. And then Mike realized the impact of his broken promises and what they had on her. And then he agreed to make some changes. And they planned that special trip. Mike made a commitment to balance his work and his personal life a little better. So through open communication and mutual efforts, they begin to rebuild their relationship. But that's an example that happens a lot of times between couples where resentment can start to build. Now, unfortunately, there's not a lot of situations where we have the communication that goes back and forth, where she'll openly say, here's what I got a problem with. And he openly receives that without being defensive. And he looks at it with an open mind and goes, you know what, I can see your point. Now, in that situation right there, things worked out pretty good. But we all know many, many people where things like that have happened similarly. And it just kept going and it kept going and kept going. And then eventually someone checks off the box of unreconcilable differences.
So that sounds a little bit like one of Chuck's Hallmark cards he sends out with the candle. He's because his men are providers. That's kind of generically, that's kind of what we do. It sounds like this woman was sitting at home and she was probably complaining on her iPhone or Android phone or whatever that he provides in her house, that he provides with the electricity that he provides, all that stuff. And she's sitting there complaining about how horrible her life is because she spent 5 minutes doing the weekly laundry. And then throwing, something into the microwave for dinner or ordering out. And then, he had to then change. Now, is there more to the story? Like after he said, hey, you know what, honey, you're right. We were supposed to go on all these fantastic trips and all that other nonsense. So I'm going to cut back my hours, and he got demoted or fired or whatever. Was she cool with giving up her brand new Android iPhone and all that stuff when he couldn't do that? I mean, when did that happen? I'm just curious.
There's always a cause and effect, isn't there?
Yeah. The whole, I want to travel the world, I want to do all this other nonsense. Thank you, social media, for the fake world that we create. But the reality is the guy's out there grinding, trying to get somewhere, trying to make something for his empire, because that's, what men do. And then, she's sitting there whining from her position of privilege, sitting at home, doing nothing, eating bonbons, watching Days of Our Lives, spending 5 minutes, again, doing the laundry. And, she's sitting there whining at him. The first thing, when he gets home from work after working, 12 hours, whining at him about, her horrible day and how he's not meeting her needs. And, and he hasn't had any, trim in, 3 weeks. And So he's like, all right, fine. I'm going to go ahead and once again do what's right for the family. And then she whines about that. Well, why can't we do X, Y, and Z? Why is it now that we're retired, we're eating Alpo? Or why is it, why can't I get the brand new purse or keep up with the Joneses? And then she's, he's not good enough. And then he's abusing me. Sorry.
Financially abusing.
I think, I think I channeled 69% of the young men out there. Sorry, woo, that was a moment.
Is there a woman today that isn't being abused? I mean, in their world. I mean, the funny thing too, Dwayne, is like, you could do all of that, and you could be like Jimmy was telling about that scenario. Like, you could be stirring that perfect crock pot and making the meals. Like, and I want to ask the guys this that were married. Like, when you get home, like, are you getting your wife or your spouse like, hey, can I give you a back rub? I know you had a long day. Hey, did they get up in the morning with you and make you a meal to go provide for the family? Did they get you flowers? Did they get you a card? Did they get you a candle? Hey, I really appreciate all these great things you did for me and the kids.
Can you put that Amazon? Can you put that link in the notes for the women?
So Father's Day is like the second Mother's Day, right? Because women have custody over 80 or 90% of the time. So I guess it's Father's Day weekend. I don't even know, and I'm not trying to be funny here. Is it Father's Day? Because I don't even know. Like, I'm not trying to be funny, but like, I think somewhere as we talk about resentment, how would we not resent a woman when we literally live in a time where 80 or 90% of them get our kids and get the financial windfall? We have put the perfect crock pot for resentment. We have, and we can know how to solve it. It's not getting solved. Society doesn't want it solved. They don't want Harrison Butker to talk about a Christian marriage. What is the Christian thing in your vows? Till death do us part. And I don't want to keep bringing it back. Adultery and abandonment. If you didn't do those two things, the women, they got the bird. You got right here. You got this one, and you got this one, and you got this one, and you got this one. And hold on, this one or this one. You got one of the two, and you got a candle from Chuck's Bucks. You got Chuck's Bucks, got you a $5 candle, and he got you a card. That's all you're getting. And I'm sorry, Jimmy. Adultery, abandonment.
Maybe we need to do a giveaway on the show. Like, we need to get the link for Chuck's Bucks, and we need to call it Chuck's Bucks, and then maybe give out.
They get one of these.
Okay, is that a Yankee Doodle one or whatever those are called?
I told you I go to Candlelight. They're only $4 or $5.
Okay,
was on sale that day. I wait till they're on sale.
All right.
Then sometimes, if you really want to get the big one, you got to go with the apple acorn. You got to go with the apple acorn. So, and then you got the bucket, Dwayne. You got the bucket of Amazon cards. You got all the Amazon cards. So we got all the cards, Jimmy. All the cards are in a bucket. This one you get a card and a candle. Because really, and I'm not being misogynistic, but what do women have? I know they're not a hole in a heartbeat, but I mean, they're more than a hole in a heartbeat. I'm just saying, like, what are you giving me, woman? What are you giving me? If I say you're giving me a hole in a heartbeat,
pressure?
Am I being a misogynist if I say they're giving me a hole in a heartbeat? Because what are you offering me? You're telling me you're going to get a financial windfall if you nut inside of me. I'm getting a financial windfall, and I'm going to start selling Drake sauce, Chuck sauce. If you put that, then they sue you. So you put hot sauce in your cum in a condom. So you don't get the financial windfall, and I'm going to get sued because you're shooting up my cum on a discarded condom. But I'm the problem.
He's referring to the Drake story where Drake brought a woman home and used protection. He put the protection in the trash can, but before he put the protection in the trash can, he dipped hot sauce inside of the condom, and then she went into the bathroom, found the condom out of the trash can, and tried to pour the contents inside of her to get impregnated, and then she got burned from the hot sauce, and then tried to sue him. That's the wacky world that we live in, but
not all women are like that.
Yeah.
Well, no, they're domestic violence survivors.
Right.
So back to resentment.
Sorry, Jimmy. I'm going to get kicked off the show pretty soon.
So let's talk about kind of what the silent deal breaker is when it comes to resentment. Cheating in a relationship is often seen as a clear deal breaker. We all know that. It's a literal breach of trust that demonstrates a lack of commitment in the most acute way. Conversely, though, resentment silently operates as a deal breaker too, because sometimes it's even more insidiously. It actually wears away at one's faith in the relationship. With cheating, the decision is a little more binary, like when that trust is broken and the decisive action is taken. But resentment, however, is often a more uncertain proposition. It's not always clear when or why it started, and the lines are more blurry in terms of whose fault it is. And the subtleness allows resentment to linger unchecked and unchallenged. Now, when it comes to resentment, as I mentioned on that story before, communication is key, right? Now, you've likely heard the old adage that communication is key in relationships. We've all heard that, and it's true. It's true. To combat this insidious threat of resentment, open and honest communication is vital. But here's the catch. Resentment makes us not really want to communicate because it breeds distance and a lack of desire to empathize with our partners. That's the problem with resentment. So I'm going to say that again. The reason why it's such an important thing to stay away from is because when it comes to resentment, it makes us not want to communicate because it breeds distance between the two people. And it creates this lack of empathizing with what our partners are going through. When we're carrying the weight of unresolved emotional baggage, expressing ourselves honestly to our partner becomes a task.
Yeah.
We become skilled at avoidance, at finding reasons to not breach that subject.
Yeah, because you know where it's going to go.
Right.
She's wrong.
This avoidance becomes a barrier to the very communication that could erode resentment. And that's the unfortunate thing. So that's why whenever we start to have resentment and we feel like we want to avoid bringing up the topic of conversation, you just know that you only have one or two paths. You either have to take this challenge head on, and because then at least you have let's call it a 50-50 chance of resolving it, or you can avoid it like so many of us have, and there's 100% chance that it's never going to get resolved, and you're going to kick the can down the road and then end up draining out of this emotional bank account 8 years down the road. I got another story for you if you guys want to hear it. This story comes from another couple that I spoke to. I'm going to call them John and Emily. John and Emily have been dating for 3 years. John works full-time. Emily is a student and works part-time. Emily takes care of the most of the household chores to help John, who comes home exhausted a lot of times. And where the conflict started is over time, Emily started kind of to feel unappreciated for her efforts because she felt that John rarely acknowledged her hard work around the house and made comments suggesting that he made comments suggesting that she had an easier life because she was just a student. And so the resentment comes in because Emily's resentment started to build up because she felt her contributions were being overlooked. And
these must be a young couple.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, all right.
And she started being felt like she was undervalued and taken for granted, and that led to frequent arguments and a growing emotional distance between the two. They were able to resolve it because one day Emily decided to take a weekend off and left John to handle the household responsibilities, and he struggled to manage the work and the household chores, according to her.
Okay. There, enough said. Okay, so this is a BS story. Go ahead.
and realized how much Emily had been doing, and so John had experienced to kind of open up his eyes, and he began to express a gratitude a little bit more often, and shared the responsibilities a little more equitable, and the relationship improved as a result. So that was the one story where you hear that's kind of a common thing when one person works and one person stays home.
Right.
A lot of the stay-at-home moms will make the accusation that a stay-at-home mom is the hardest job on the planet. And you know, I have my own personal feelings about that, but that is a story
you already know mine.
Of how resentment.
The IRS even gives them a title, homemaker. Sorry.
Was that like off of medium.com or Woman's Day or some?
Oh no, when you file your taxes, they
the I'm just curious because it's some complete nonsense. I mean, again, I guess it's for the lady warriors out there, the young couples that are clueless, but any guy, I guess, over 40 is like, what are you talking about? I mean, I've had that conversation with my first wife, and we wonder one of the many reasons why she was my first wife and not my current wife. But yeah, she gave that nonsense to me, and I work hard and I do this, and I'm like, wait. You wake up at the crack of, well, let's say noon, and I'll be nice. I'm going to give you 5 to 10 minutes of laundry time. And then the only call I get from you is asking me where to order something for me to bring home after I've worked all day. I come home to, and again, the kids, now again, for the first couple years, the kids being at home, I'll give you that. You know, of course, you got to have mommy there, grandma, and all the little girls day out and everything else. And, but yeah, no, it's tough on you. So I'll give you, 3-4 years, and they go off to preschool and they're gone 8 hours out of the day, 4 to 8 hours out of the day. So you don't even have them all day long. And then, as soon as I come in, the diapers are full. The house looks like and again, I have a video. You can go out to Pissed Off Parrot and see the video. The house looks like a demilitarized zone and all that. And of course, I'm going to hear these broads go, but they're not all women. No, it's the majority of you. Every once in a great while. My big thing is that, you know what, as a guy, I never said a thing about it. I understood the roles. My job as provider, your job is to take care of the house. It was when you started trying to put not only your contributions to my level or above my level. When I was told that she worked harder than me, that's when I went, you're so full of crap and I don't know what mental issue you have. Of course, she's got a lot. That's where I just lost it. And anytime if that ever came up again, I would as a man, I'll tell the young guys out there, beat that down immediately. Do not give me credence to that nonsense.
But Dwayne, like Jimmy was saying, she was a student and he wasn't communicating with her correctly and he wasn't meeting her expectations and she had to study. Like,
was she studying gender studies or was she studying one of those other useless arts degrees?
Humanities.
And Jimmy, I'm hitting resentment. So you got to give me a little love and resentment. I'm feeling taken advantage of. And these aren't good patterns. And you're not being intimate with me when I'm spending all day doing my student stuff. And here, guys, here's the deal. And Dwayne, I'm going to jump on what you just said. We would do laundry day once a week. I have 7 kids. I have 7 kids. Hi, I'm Chuck. I don't have bucks no more. I used to, but they got spent on candles and cards. Anyway, we would do laundry once a week. So we have 7 kids, husband and wife. She'd sit on her fat fucking ass all day long. And I'm just going to say it what it is. And Sunday was laundry day. You'd see the haymakers flying. Do this, fucking do that. And we would do laundry once a week. Once a week we would do laundry. I'd be setting up the crock pot meal before I went to work. I'm working at a naval facility with top secret clearance, making 120 grand a year. I'd get the meal going before I left. We would do breakfast. I would do all that shit. And Sunday was absolute, like you talk about military zone, absolute chaos because the laundry's we have 7 kids, guys. 7 kids, no laundry an entire week. So like literally, and it was fuck you and fuck this and fuck that. And you know who ended up? My oldest daughter she was apparently became a slave because I want to take them out on the weekends, take them to the park, take them to the library. But my ex-wife's like, it's laundry day and it's time to do laundry because she sat in her fat ass all week. Yeah. So I'm providing, but I wasn't in resentment, guys. I wasn't communicating with her correctly, working 2 jobs and making $100,000. I wasn't allowing her more intimacy by her sitting on her ass all day while she fucking ate the bonbons and watched Days of Our Lives.
Right.
Because it was a resentment because I wasn't providing.
And when you break that down for him and like walk him through it, it pisses him off. When you go, okay, let's take a look at your job. So all the clothes go into the hamper.
Yeah.
You pick it up, you bring it, I'll just give you 20 feet to the laundry room, to the laundry machines that I provide, and the electricity and everything else. You pick up the clothes, you push them into a machine, you push 2-3 buttons. Let's go a little long, let's do a little softener there because we like our clothes to be nice and soft. You push a button and you come back in an hour.
Yeah.
That's it.
You
and then you move it to the dryer.
So
as
then,
the IRS puts in their job description, that's asking a little bit much of the homemaker.
Yeah.
So I have seen the videos of Dwayne's first wife, and
is this a real thing? There's actually videos,
yeah.
Dwayne. I'm asking.
Yeah.
Is this a real thing? Because I know you have this wittiness, but this is a real thing.
Yeah, go to parents.com.
Jesus. I'm sure she loves that.
Yeah. Truth, the best disinfectant to not. But she would tell everybody how she slaves over everything, how blah 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 blah. And I don't want it.
It was the toughest homemaker position in Texas.
Exactly.
You're a slave. Did they call you a slave owner? I mean, seriously, it's not slavery, guys. It's not hard. It really. It's not. I mean, they want to act like they're slaves. They really do. I think women they get caught up with Rosa Parks. Y'all ain't slaves.
They don't want to take direction from their man, and I'm saying direction, which is a joke. It's like, hey, blah, blah, blah. But then they'll go to some minimum wage job and have some guy, girl, whatever, make them a slave at work for next to no money. I mean, one of these days we got to do the tinfoil hat on going back to the 19th Amendment and showing how women were duped since feminism.
Can we get Ronald Reagan from the dead and ask him why he had to do no fault divorce? I would love to talk to Ronald Reagan because he fucked every man in this country. Ronald Reagan shoved it up our ass because
he did say it was the single biggest mistake he's ever made. So we'll give him that.
So Jimmy resentment. What's something we can educate these guys on? If I was to tell a guy right now, and that's why you're going to be somewhat okay that I came on. If I was to tell a guy right now, what is the single biggest thing you can do to avoid resentment in your marriage or in your relationship? And I know I sound like a total asshole. I've been up and down all across the world. Sarcasm, just with women, far and wide, short and big. I would just tell you guys, if there's a way to just read through, Dwayne talked a lot about the word vomit, the word diarrhea, the word garbage, and Jimmy talks a lot about all these philosophical, really good solutions. Try to take in the person that you're I hate to say in bed with, but the person that you are sharing a home with. Try to really try to meet them where they're at. And if we're not going to get a prenup, and if we're not going to have understanding, we need to understand the expectations up front. What is it you want in this? Because I don't want to have a resentment situation. So what can I do to facilitate? And then understand, guys, you have to be okay with what they're telling you their expectations are. A lot of you guys, and I'm myself included, you want them to be a decent human being. They don't have to anymore. They can be a total piece of shit, and they're going to get financial windfalls. And there's a lot of great women out there. They're out there, and I have friends, and they probably wouldn't be happy with this podcast I'm doing because I'm not talking very nice about women. But really, guys, we have to have understanding of what the expectations are. Because if we don't understand what their expectations are, you're going to get into a resentment situation right away. You're going to. Sorry, Jimmy.
It's okay. It's all good. And the truth is, guys, is that and good point, Chuck. To answer your question on what we can do to kind of overcome the resentment, it's going to be you've got to do what we always have to do whenever we are trying to tackle something that's complex. You've got to go head first into the storm. You've got to embrace the things that are going to suck. Nothing that's worth anything in this life is going to come easily. So what does that mean? Here's what it means. Think about whenever you buy a car from a car dealership, you buy a house from a realtor, you enter into a new business dealings with a business partner. What's the one thing that all three of those things have in common? There's a contract. There's something that's spelled out that says you're going to do these things and I'm going to do these things. But whenever we enter into a relationship, arguably the most important contract that we could ever engage in, we don't enter into a mutual understanding up front. Now, I'm not saying you put it on, a piece of paper. Maybe you do. I don't know. But what you have to do whenever you enter into a roommate situation or relationship is you go, hey, these are my morals. These are my values. This is where I'm going to be taking our family. Are you on board? Are you a part of my frame? Are you going to be following my lead? This is what my envision. Is that something that you see as your future? And if not, let's talk about it and let's realign the direction so that way I can point in the direction that is north for us. And then now that we know where we're going to be headed, how do we get there? How does the dots align up? And so little things like, okay, I'm going to be going to work and you're not going to have a job. Let's say that's the case, right? And so if you're not going to have full-time employment, then what you can do to help out the family is you can do this and this and this and this at home. Right. And so we have to start verbalizing the expectations of each other to mitigate, because it's not always going to work, but try to mitigate the kind of brain damage that we're going to have to go through in the future to try to overcome the resentment. And if one person out of the two, man or woman, is not fulfilling their end of the obligation, then the other person's going to have to go through that storm and have that uncomfortable conversation with the person that says, hey, remember when we talked about X, Y, and Z? Now I've noticed that you've been doing these things instead of these things. Is there something that I can do to help out with? Is there something that you need assistance from? Are you still planning on fulfilling your end of the obligation? Now, guys, there's nothing that I can teach you guys. There's nothing that I can say that's going to work 100% of the time, because people are complex. Okay. Sometimes we just pick the wrong human being, but don't let that be a reason for you not to try and then just pretend or hope.
Be smart.
Yeah. I don't want you to just hope that it's going to resolve itself, because how many times does that really happen? So I'm going to talk a little bit more about resentment. I'm going to talk about the cumulative effect of resentment. We're going to talk about the unseen crisis of it. And then we're going to talk to a path of like reconnection here. But before we do, I wanted to let Dwayne in on something. And Chuck, I want to introduce you to our favorite, one of our favorite trolls is back.
Got a troll
section. Yes. One of our favorite trolls is back. And Chuck, apparently, your first problem, Chuck, is that you have 7 kids. How many different women? And you obviously make poor porpoises.
This shows just how stupid these people are.
It's actually one. It's one mother. It's one mother, actually. We were married for 11 years.
Sorry, Fitzgerald Ernie.
She was actually convicted of malicious wounding, assault and battery with a deadly weapon, and a murder for hire plot. She was actually convicted if you type in the state. And you can actually, and she was also hit with $25,000 of fraud. And she was actually convicted of all these things. And my case is one of the most followed in the country. And I don't love myself, and I'm not being grandiose, but this was all reversed. And 6 different judges have touched this case. And we've gone through 4 different guardian ad litems, and every single thing the judge did that day was reversed and remanded. And so now it's all the way to the Supreme Court. And I have court in 23 days, and they have to accept that they made serious mistakes in presiding over the case. And I have attorneys and I have experts, and I had one biological mother, and I provided for all of the children and my wife, ex-wife. And I was an awesome dad. I was an awesome husband, and she just wanted to get rid of me. And the system allowed her to do that. And
you can put your apology down in the notes in the comment section too.
Oh yeah,
it was one woman, one wife, and and actually top secret clearance, served my country proudly. And by the way, worked the Boston Marathon bomber. We used wide solar infrared surveillance printer technology on a plane to find the guy. And I worked with the F-22 Raptor, and I worked with the MQ-1 and the MQ-9, the Predator and the Reaper, to combat ISIS. So I actually served my country. And I kept us safe at night. And I'm a proud civil servant, GS-13 contracting officer who had over 15 years of dedicated military service. But you can try to throw me away all you want. I'm a great guy. And now I own and operate a farm, don't have work skills, unlicensed corporation, but I now serve my entire community and feed every single person my town that I can possibly find. And I run an operation we have 3 different companies. So actually you can cancel culture me all you want, but I actually feed people every single day for free, don't collect a penny. And I grow my own food on my property. And I have never turned a single person down or collected a single penny. But thank you.
Yeah. And I guess this comment didn't age very well either then, huh?
I bet you don't. This sig fig. What was it? Well, I didn't see it. What was it?
Yeah.
All of you work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we are working to combat the narrative that I guess
I work.
I guess our job is to promote awareness for being a man and promote awareness for making good decisions. And when Jimmy was talking about all the great things about guys making good decisions, and Jimmy won't be right 100% of the time. He's pretty damn close, though, because I watched his other shows over the last year, and Jimmy's on his shit, and so is Dwayne. Dwayne's the stat guy. Dwayne's got a lot of skills. Jimmy gives you the content, and y'all have a great hybrid. But, like, for real, like, how are we winning a battle that we are not set up to win? We just try to mitigate. We try to mitigate the damage to the best of our ability, and so we have to make good decisions. And like Jimmy was saying, here's the truth. Here's the answers. Here's the path. It's like the Wizard of Oz. Follow the yellow brick road. Jimmy gives you the yellow brick road. Dwayne gives it to you. Well, you guys give us the stats. And like Dwayne and Jimmy were talking earlier in the show, probably better off not just to date. Become a monk. I mean, because if y'all really want to get into it, you get a big fat prenup about a couple hundred pages. Get Tiger Woods' attorney, because what was that? What was Tiger Woods' girlfriend? She was living with him, but he kicked her out of the house, brought her to the airport, and she went back and she was kicked out. And she's like, "Oh, abuse. Oh, no, you already had a non-disclosure agreement. Shut the hell up." And the attorney enforced it, and she got fucking squadoosh. And the shit was broadcasted because it was a family court. It was out of Florida. So she went in there, wah, 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 wah. I want Tiger Woods' money. He had an NDA, non-disclosure agreements, guys. Prenuptial agreements, guys. I'm not an attorney. This isn't legal advice. But I'm an unlicensed layman, though. That runs an unlicensed corporation that doesn't have work skills, but I don't pay child support. And I'm telling you that right now on the live right here. 7 kids don't pay child support. Right there. Read it and weep, buddy.
So we're going to talk about the cumulative effect of resentment. But before we do, just in honor of our one of our favorite trolls, Fitzgerald Ernie, before I give any more advice, let's go ahead and make sure that everyone understands that this advice coming up is
angry, toxic advice.
So anyways, so when it comes to, in a way, I guess resentment is the equation of of our love minus our shared accountability, and what's left when we fail to nurture our emotional bond with each other, when we cease to act as a team. Over time, these negative emotions start to add up, and it creates a gulf between partners that can feel sometimes insurmountable. And unlike a cheating scandal that will take center stage in any sort of story, resentment is the silent killer. It often harbors no specific event to pin a blame or incite change. And that's the problem with that silent killer of resentment. And each little moment of discord or disappointment, if not handled with awareness, it can serve to contribute to the weight of ill feelings that we carry with us. It's like an accumulative effect, one that can leave us wondering how we ended up so far from the place of joy and intimacy that we all began with. So it's one of those things that you gotta watch out for. While I'm thinking about it too, guys, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the page. I have new social media accounts that I just started. So please, if you guys don't mind, make sure that you guys like and share and subscribe to not only Dad Talk Today, but also The Big Show by Jimmy Smith. So moving on, let's talk about the.
Well, we do have a request here. Play the. I like it. I mean,
just for you, Jeremy.
Angry, toxic advice.
I made that for that douchebag, Fitzgerald Ernie.
Jimmy, can I ask you a question?
Go ahead, buddy.
And I know we're moving forward, but if I'm sitting there listening right now, I actually have a question for you. If I'm in the audience right now, I would have a question for you. So, Jimmy, you're very well mannered. You have. I mean, you're innovative. Your words, they're brilliant. Here, what I'm trying to tell you is this. Ask you is this: if you're a dad, if you're a single guy right now, and you're navigating the dating field, and you're trying to find someone that a meaningful relationship, Is there one or two things? We talk about resentment to prevent resentment, like because these guys were learning about resentment. You've had brilliant information. Dwayne's had it. You've had it. I got us off track. I'm sorry. What is something that a man can look for? I get the red flags. Dwayne talked about watch the word vomit, how they manipulate it. Like, what can we tell these guys today, right now? You want to have something meaningful. And Jimmy, you got the man card. Of all the people on all the podcasts, you got the man. Ain't nobody taking it. You got the big show, and it's for a reason. What is there one or two things of advice for a guy like he's trying to find someone, he's trying to find something meaningful. He doesn't want to have resentment in his relationship. What would you say to that person, that man that
This is what I would say. Number one, guys, if you guys truly want a meaningful relationship, then I want to give you a little bit of hope. Okay. I know we razz on guys from time to time. I know we razz on the chicks from time to time. And look, there's a lot of douchebag guys out there. And there's a lot of, unwifeable women out there. I don't know what the percentage is, but I would say that the majority of men and the majority of women are probably not husband or wife material. I don't know what that percentage is, but that's my guess. Okay. Listen, I give it to the guys just as much as I give it to the girls, man. I mean, Dwayne and I have had plenty of podcasts where we've told guys to get their shit together. This one happens to be a little bit more aimed towards the women. And so there's a little more, heat and judgment thrown back on us because we live in this world that we live in. But the truth is this, there are some great women out there. Now, they might contribute to the minority. Maybe only 20% of them are worth a damn. I don't know. Maybe it's 30%, but they are out there, okay? In my personal opinion, what I would be looking for is whenever I'm on a date, one of the best things that you guys can do is get really good at your vetting. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Get really good at asking questions, but don't lead the witness. Don't ask a question where they already know what the right answer is and what the wrong answer is. So don't ask something stupid like, so have you been with a lot of guys in your past? Come on. No woman's going to answer that question honestly. Okay. You've got to be smarter than that. So you want to get really, really good at vetting. Women are hyper focused on a man's future. So when you're talking to her, she wants to hear your ambition. She wants to hear your goals. She wants to know what direction you want to take your life in. She's very, very focused on what you do on your downtime. Men are very, very interested in a woman's past. So ask questions about that. Just like if you were interviewing for a job, tell me about your last job. Why'd you pick that job? How long did you have the job for? What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? And why'd you leave the job? Do the same thing, but for her boyfriends in the past. Yeah. But don't do too much of it, but kind of
listen.
Yeah. And listen to what it says. And then after a couple of times, is she always breaking up with her guys? Is she's always the one that ends all the relationships?
They're all toxic.
Are they all toxic? Are they all narcissists? Does she have a good relationship with her father? Has she had any sort of masculine influence in her life ever? Or was she raised by a bitter single mother? Now, just because she doesn't have had a dad, it doesn't mean she's a bad woman, but it does increase the chances that she's not going to be able to fall in line with a man's masculinity and a man's leadership and direction. Has she always had to be the fighter in her life? Has she been put into crisis? Has she weathered a whole bunch of storms? We want to keep our women as pure as we can because we understand the pressures and how they affect our women. They come out the same way that we come out of storms, hardened. And we don't want our women hardened. Now, it doesn't mean you discard them because they had a bad shake, but you do have to watch out for the red flags. So you want to ask good questions. And another thing too, guys, and we always pick on women because they have a very delusional outlook on their own beauty and their own value.
I'm a 7.
Yeah, they're a straight up 4 and they think they're an 8. But we do that stuff sometimes too. So here's what I want you guys to be careful of, okay? Remember that true love is not finding the perfect person. True love is finding an imperfect person, but understanding them perfectly. If you stop looking for Mrs. Right and become the man that Mrs. Right would be looking for, you must become the kind of man that you want to spend the rest of your life with.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of trying to find a woman that's going to fix all your bullshit. Because some of us have bullshit. Some of us are broken, man. Some of you guys out there are broken. I'm broken. I appreciate the compliments. And you know what? Maybe I speak a little bit better than the average person, but I don't got my shit together. I'm not this perfect angel myself. I've got work I've got to do. It's true.
Really?
It's true.
No. You got the candle going right now. You're the perfect dude.
Chuck, that was for you.
I thought you had wings. I thought you had wings on your
no,
angel.
That's just a
candle to candle. Candle to candle.
So guys, what you want to do is whenever Dwayne and I are teaching you guys to be on your purpose, to be in your frame, things like that, what we're teaching you to do is become the best version of yourself, because the better quality man that you are, you attract what it is that you are. Okay? If you're attracting strippers with no brain in their head, there's a reason for that,
Yeah.
If you're attracting losers, or ladies, if you're attracting guys who are not treating you right, you've got to look within yourself. You got to figure out what it is and why am I attracting this type of person. And don't be afraid, especially as a man.
Well, it's like the easy example would be if you're like, I want to attract a good quality woman, and like, I'm getting 304s, and the only place I'm looking for women is in the nightclub at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Well, you need to look inward. Hey, maybe I shouldn't be going to the club at night or picking up on the easy women at 2 a.m. or whatever. Maybe I need to, either go through go use an app, or find them at church, or which is not a indicator of finding a good woman. That's a whole other podcast on its own. But yeah, I mean, it's something we've talked about for who knows how long we've been doing it. Is before you can really get someone that's gonna be of high quality, you need to get all of your ducks in a row and get all your crap figured out. If you want a person that doesn't lie, or a truthful woman, don't be a liar. If you want a woman to you want to get a feminine woman, you need to be a masculine man, because those two complement each other, hopefully. There's so many things there, but yeah, a lot of these people, guys and girls, will sit there and go, I want this, I want that. You got to get through the word salad, because people are delusional. Men and women, they do a lot of word salad. They'll sit there and say, I want this, this, and this, and this. Or, I've heard them say I'm in my feminine, but then they do all kinds of masculine crap. Conversely, men are like, I'm all masculine, and they act like little bitches. It's like, get through your own crap first, become the person you want to be. And then that hopefully will attract. You're going to attract a lot of crap if you become that man, because women are attracted to men that are masculine. At the end of the day, they are. But then they spend their entire time trying to destroy you. A whole different topic. But yeah, you need to be who you are.
Also, too, it's important to be aware that, like, the number one pick for the San Antonio Spurs, it was a big deal. I know Jimmy has a lot of contacts in the entertainment industry, and Dwayne does a lot of innovative stuff. Victor Wembanyama is one of the most heralded NBA athletes in the history of the NBA. They're comparing him, could be like, I'm not saying Michael Jordan, and he said this, he said, he will not date an American woman. And they said, Victor Wembanyama, you're the number one pick. You've got all the bucks. You got everything at your disposal. Why would you not? And he's talking about resentment. It's setting the stage. He said 2 words. I will never date an American woman because of 2 words: toxic masculinity. The women in the United States are too top, and he's not from the United States.
Right.
He's from a foreign country, and he is the number one NBA. He was drafted number 1. He's going to get the Rookie of the Year award. And I just want to make sure that Jimmy gave you some awesome meat. Dwayne gives you some innovative ideas. Just understand, guys, we have like powerful people in like these superstar statuses, they're like, not going to deal with it. Women in this country are too toxic. There's too much toxic masculinity. And if anyone can understand toxic masculinity, Jimmy is that masculine guy. He does have that alpha. Like Jimmy is the alpha of any, I'm not talking people down, but like if you want to get on a show and you want to listen about information and you want to get educated, you come Sunday night, you like, share, subscribe. You come on the big show because you're going to learn something here. Yeah. And Jimmy and I'm sorry to like stop the show with, I asked Jimmy a question, but I thought everybody in the audience would understand, like would appreciate Jimmy's answer. And like, exactly, like, Jimmy, you got a thought on just dating a woman in a toxic masculinity culture to where professional athletes they're just like, hell no. This country's a shit show. Hell no. These are like, they're telling us what's out there. Oh, spot on. Well, thank you. I'm asking, like, I'm not a misogynist. I want a submissive woman. I want to lead. But then I'm abusive. Then they want to take it. I'm going to stop there. I'm going to
You're mean.
I'm going to give it back to Jimmy, but like Jimmy, the toxic masculine culture, we're talking about resentment. How do we break that? Like, you're getting into resentment out the gate. They got toxic masculine energy out the gate, and we can vet them and we can ask those probing questions, and everything you said, we can do it all right. And Dwayne's hits it nail on the head. They're going to give you the word salad. They're going to reel you in, and then there it comes. Bam.
Yeah, and I think that when you start getting good enough, guys, and a lot of us are starting to get a little more understanding and aware of this word salad and the buzzwords of the year that they use. Don't ignore the red flags, guys. Don't ignore them. And a lot of times we do. A lot of times we're sitting in front of a woman and we are enamored by her beauty, and we are enamored by her body, maybe, and we're enamored by whatever she this femininity that she might give us in the beginning. But we sense and we feel the red flags, and we will push them aside and we will ignore them. What if you're not sensing the red flags, or you feel that you are kind of loved bombed a little bit, and you're not digesting it, then it's not a bad idea to bring her in front of maybe your friends, the guys that will be honest with you, and let them kind of vet her whenever she's not around, and just say, hey, what do you think about Sarah? What do you think about Diane? Whatever. And listen to your friends, man, especially the guy friends. They'll let you know that, hey, man, there's something off with this one. I don't know about this one. And as much as you might want it to work, because you truly are lonely, you truly want a wife, you're going to have to understand that a lot of women are just not wife material. Yep. And you're going to have to, vet through a couple before you find one that truly is. And the guys who have been through some heartbreaks and are now married and they're happily married, ask them, hey, they'll tell you, man, dude, I freaking knew, like I went through this bullshit and this bullshit. And then when I met her, I knew it. And you got to sign off on your family. You got to sign off in your heart. You got to sign off in your friends. But guys, if you ignore too many red flags, they're just not going to go away, and it's going to come back and bite you. How many guys are listening to me right now that are shaking their head going, man, I freaking saw the red flags and I ignored them.
Yeah, we're good at ignoring them. We are stupid when it comes to that.
You really are.
Jimmy, can I ask you about a path that's like way off the grid, that like it's literally something that's like kind of no one talks about?
What's that?
Can I hit you with something? Just like, so if we live in a country and a culture that cancels men, like they got those stupid white trash shows on TLC about 90 Day Fiance and all that stuff. Like, do we need to
Dwayne watches them.
I watch them. Like, Jimmy, I just want to ask you, like bro to bro, like I really respect your answer here, because I feel a little vulnerable. Alpha asking like the alpha, like you're like the alpha of the group.
I appreciate
so like what I'm trying to ask you is like the big show. I'm asking you from a man to like the man. Do we just go to another fucking country? Because to get rid of the resentment altogether, a woman doesn't want to be obedient, but they want an alpha. But if you're too obedient, you're abusive. But they're a domestic violence survivor, but you're leading them. but you can't leave them because they want the windfall. Do we just leave the fucking United States and go get one of these women overseas until they learn how the United States does it? Until they learn how the United States does it, and then they get the windfall anyway. Like, I'm just asking, Jimmy, like, for these guys, like, is it best just to leave the country when looking for a woman? I'm actually really asking you, so you don't have resentment. Like, you won't have resentment. They are obedient to their man. Other countries, you don't talk. Like, you're obedient to your man. And I'm not being misogynistic or sexist. But if you didn't abandonment and if you didn't do adultery, you were fine in your marriage. Like, do we just leave the country to find our women? Is that what it's come to?
Well, it's coming to that because that movement is growing every single year. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say, guys, grab your passports and go find wives over in the Middle East or in Asia or whatever. But I can understand why a lot of guys are doing it. That's going to be the decision for everybody. I will say this, though. If you're a man and you are wanting to be married and you are in your 20s, I would recommend that you don't. I would recommend that you wait until you get into your 30s to where you have some traction in life. Now, if you're listening to this podcast in the year 2042, times might have changed. This is 2024. Every decade or so, things change. But where we sit right now, if you're in your 20s, you're not going to have enough resources, experience, and wisdom to lead anyone, let alone be able to take care of a household. I would focus on yourself. But if you're in your 20s and you want to be married and you say, hey, Jimmy, I appreciate your advice, but I want to be married in my 20s, I will tell you this. It's probably best to get your passport, because women in their 20s nowadays, you want to know what they're looking for? They're looking for guys like me. They're looking for guys who are 6 foot. They're making a ton of money. They have all this stuff put together. They're looking for the top echelon of guys who can give them the resources and take them places and just be this alpha guy. And that's why guys in their late 30s and their 40s and even in their 50s are seemingly having not that bad of a time getting women in their 20s and 30s. Now, guys, I don't recommend you do that, because there ain't nothing a 25-year-old girl can give me outside of her body and her looks. And I've been there, done that. I'm not even interested in that. I want more than that. If you're in your 30s, then now you're in a spot now to where you've gained some traction in life, and you should really hone your skills on vetting and just know that 10%, maybe 20 are going to be worth something, but they are out there. Keep looking. Don't jump in too soon. And remember this, guys, you don't always have to put it on government paper. You can still have the ceremony. You can still have the ring. But you don't have to necessarily let the government in on your stuff. If you're 40 and 50 and above, now you're in one of those balance points where the women are better, more suited for marriage in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, because they're not as jaded with the feminism as the 20-year-old girls are. They still are.
Okay. I'm like, whoa, you're losing me here big time.
They still are, but just the large lion's share of 20s are.
Oh, they're
a smaller percentage of the girls in their 40s and 50s are. But then there's disadvantages of dating women in their 40s and 50s that, we all know what those are. So it's about compromise and trade-offs. Me personally, I would love it to have the purity of someone in their 20s with the mindset and personal infrastructure of a woman in her 40s and 50s. But that doesn't exist. That's a unicorn, right? So I'm sure that, women would like a guy with, the Thor. What's the guy? Chad Hemsworth. What's the guy from Thor?
Oh, Thor.
What's his name?
Hemsworth.
Chris
Hemsworth.
Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah.
They want his body and money with, whatever. So we all have our.
Jimmy, just to educate the audience, there are 8 states that have common law marriage. So living.
I was getting ready to go. Wait a second.
Just so I actually am providing some actually positive content that actually will educate the audience, because that's one thing I'm not doing tonight. You and Dwayne do that all the time. Colorado, Iowa, Kansas, Montana, New Hampshire, Oklahoma, Rhode Island, Texas, and Utah have what's called common law marriage. And if you do domicile with these women and they do want that windfall, they're going to get it. And I'm sorry, Jimmy, I'm not ruining your thunder. 42 other states. You got to be real careful with the common law marriage and make sure they keep another address and make sure they don't keep things at your residence because that's occupancy. I'm so sorry, guys. Jimmy, you are the GOAT. Jimmy's the GOAT. I always know he's the GOAT. And what you're saying is 100%. I think what you meant, and I know this is what you meant about not putting on a piece of paper. Don't rush to marriage. I know that's what Jimmy was saying. Don't rush to marriage, but just beware. I've read those states, and let me read them again slowly. I apologize. Colorado, Iowa, Kansas, Montana, New Hampshire, Oklahoma, Rhode Island, Texas, and Utah. Guys, just make sure you have an attorney. This isn't legal advice. Just watch your common law marriage shit because they will come after you. Sorry, Jimmy. I didn't mean to jump in there.
Very, very, very good points. And so let's talk about the path to kind of reconnection on this resentment thing, and then we're going to end the podcast. So, the good news, guys, is that resentment is not insurmountable. It can be overcome through the same means by which it was created, cumulatively, by making small but significant efforts to reconnect, to understand each other's needs, to express one's truth with vulnerability and kind of rekindle the care and respect that lies at the core of every lasting relationship. It can be reconciled. It is, however, it's going to be a process. And that process requires patience, and it requires a willingness to face the truth of how we are feeling. It means that realizing that despite the love that we might carry in our hearts, we have to be attuned to the disharmonies layered within our relationship and address them head on. So it's one of those things, man, that in many ways the antidote to resentment is appreciation. It's about cultivating a practice of expressing gratitude for our partners and for the shared life that the two of you guys are trying to build together. And when you actively focus on what's going right in the relationships, it becomes much harder for the negative emotions to take root and grow. But that practice goes beyond just mere lip service. Authentic appreciation involves seeing our partners for who they are, acknowledging their contributions, whether or not you think that her taking care of the dishes and being a homemaker is beneath what you do or not. It's about authentic appreciation about who they are and acknowledging what their contributions are to the relationship. Showing them that their presence in your life truly matters. Mm-hmm. Whether it's big or whether it's small, whether you think it's large or whether you think it's not. It's a daily effort to not take each other for granted. And it can work wonders in preventing resentment from gaining a foothold. So before I go to final thoughts, guys, do you guys have anything else you guys want to share at all?
Oh God, we'd be here another 3 hours. So much stuff.
We fake as hell, though. We fake.
Oh, we're fake as hell.
And we're short shaming.
I just want to say thank you to Jimmy, and I want to say thank you to Dwayne for letting me come on and talk about, a dad that has had a hard time, and just it's dad talk today. It's the big show. Like, I just want to say thank you, Jimmy, for having me on, and Dwayne, thank you for having me on, and just this I know I'm not very politically correct, but I just you had no idea what I was going to say. We literally could tell that throughout the entire time. And I just want to say, I really appreciate you. I respect what you do. I love you bringing an audience member. I'm a fan of the show. I watch it every Sunday. Like, share, subscribe. The big show. This is my alpha heaven. And I'm going to say that out loud. I get to come here and be proud to be a dad. I get to come here and be proud to be a fucking man. Like, this is my man card. And I listen every fucking Sunday. And I'm gonna say it. And I drank a beer with you guys on the show. I don't care. This is my man card. I get to be a man on this show, and to come on as an audience member and to listen to these guys and for them to hear me and process what I'm saying, like, and to give you guys all this amazing content. There's not a better podcast going on right now. There isn't. You're not going to find it. So I just want to say, and the graphics, the innovativeness, Dwayne's got the stats. He's got great story. Jimmy's got just this. You're pretty fucking smart, dude. Jimmy, I I listen to you, but man, the way you break shit down, Dwayne, you already know you're a fucking nerd. You know you're brilliant. Fucking Jimmy, man, I'll be throwing you questions. Like, ain't nobody interviewing Jimmy on his show. Fucking interviewing him on his own damn show. What kind of shit is that? But like this is raw. This is raw. This isn't rehearsed.
That's
this
right.
is real shit. This is real shit.
Just
like
off
I'm
the
thinking,
cuff,
like,
man.
and I'm like, I love you guys. Like, no homo. Like, I love you.
Well, a little bit homo, but you brought it though. I mean, you showed us all up. I mean, cards and candles. That is Jimmy, ever thought about that? No. I mean, yeah.
You taught me something.
I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry about that.
That was awesome.
All right,
Can you, before we go to final thoughts, can you just pan the camera to the Christmas lights across your headboard?
Yeah.
Just one more time for everybody, please. Just before, I mean, can we all just admire that right there? I mean, look at that stabbing cabin. I mean, shit goes down, buddy.
Got a record for every mood.
I need to do some laundry because last night was a little bit of a
Come on, dude, because Sunday's laundry day. Sunday is obviously laundry day.
So like no Monday, it's like sometimes we get some people on the homestead and it's like we won't call them cattle, but but I appreciate you all, and man, I love you guys, and man, this was one show I wanted to do. If there's one, this was it. This is what I want. I mean, I wanted so bad to chop it up with the big show and like
bucket list.
This was fucking awesome, man. Thank you so much. Like,
you're welcome,
sorry
buddy.
for your audience. I hope I didn't fuck up your viewership because I'm not a misogynist. I just want to give these guys what really is going on.
Not more than we do. So
listen, guys. Not everyone's going to receive the message the same way. Some people are going to be pissed. I see people in the comment section already pissed, and that's fine, dude. That's fine. Listen, I mean, guys don't get a chance to really sound off and just like ladies. If you want to know what guys talk about when you're not around, you just witness it. This is what we talk about, man. We talk about relationship. We talk about women. We talk about how shitty things are for both parties involved. We talk about us messing up. We talk about things that we do well that goes unseen. We talk about all the same stuff, just in a more direct, manly kind of way. So, yeah. I mean, we're human, ladies. We're human, and we have emotions and feelings, and we don't get to really sound them off sometimes. And it's nice for the guys in the comment section, everyone who commented, even my trolls. Appreciate you, man. I mean, if you love us, that's great. If you hate us, that's okay too. I'm gonna sleep fine tonight, knowing that Fitzgerald Ernie thinks I'm a douchebag without a job. I don't give a shit what you think. I don't care. You're doing something well whenever people start hating on you. Exactly. If we didn't have any haters, then I would be a little bit worried. So I'm not. Before
we end final thoughts, Jimmy, can you tell the guys you were like, Charlie, do you want to talk about your story? Do you want to come on and talk about your stuff? I was like, I just want to talk about guy stuff. And literally, guys, just for the record, Jimmy literally asked me, he's like, do you want to come on and tell your story? And I said, no. The Big Show talks about how to learn and educate. And I gave Jimmy a few topics, and Jimmy actually had a topic I didn't even think I belonged in. But apparently I was able to connect it. And Jimmy, literally, we don't feel bad for ourselves over here. We talk about how to educate, how to lead, how to inspire, and how to go forward. And that's, if you guys aren't picking up on that, that is the definition of what this show is. Yeah. Dwayne's had me on to do I Feel Sorry for Charlie. I've already done that, and I fucked up and I act like an idiot. But Dwayne's what I love about Jimmy is you're gonna learn something, you're gonna be educated, and you're gonna have a solution. And Jimmy gives you all those things every Sunday. Like, share, subscribe. The Big Show right here. You ain't gonna get no alpha. He's the alpha of all alphas, like a fucking wolf. He is a fucking, and I love. That's a compliment. That's a compliment. I know it's last thoughts. And I gotta.
Mike Keller's the real wolf. Mike Keller.
Yes.
But guys, if you guys have any thoughts for a future show that you guys think that Dwayne and I should cover, go over to The Big Show by Jimmy Smith on IG. Send me a private message, and Dwayne and I will take a look at it, and we'll see if we can't plug that show in for you. We've done it in the past. If you guys know of anyone who is, I don't know, famous, or, you got someone in your family, or you got a friend who has an influence out there and you want to bring them on the show as a guest, bring them on. If you guys have a great story that you feel need to be shared, go to my IG and pop the story in there and let me take a look at it, and we'll have you guys on the show too. This is an interactive, guys. This show is for you. Okay, this is a show for the men out there. I care about you. I want to see you do well. I want you guys to be the best version of yourself. I want you guys to be happy. I don't want you guys to be miserable. So this is a way that we can get together on Sunday, 6 Central, 7 Eastern, and just kind of do that. But let's go to final thoughts. So ultimately, guys, I think the message here is about vigilance. Like tending to a garden, I think relationships require constant care to remain healthy and vibrant. Acknowledge the weeds of resentment before they take over the flowers of love, guys. Be aware of the subtle changes in how you connect, and be brave enough to face the issues that threaten the integrity of your partnership. Cheating is an acute wound that can't be ignored, but resentment is the slow compromise of the relationship's integrity. It's a silent poison seeping through your connection, often without you even realizing that it's there. And in the grand narrative of your love story, don't underestimate the significance of the quieter moments, the unremarkable interactions, the unspoken sentiments. They may just hold the key to preserving and protecting the most important relationship in your life. So guys, I want to thank everyone for tuning in for today's episode of The Big Show, hosted by me, Jimmy Smith. I really appreciate it. On behalf of my co-host, Dwayne Ward and Chuck Dizzle, keep pushing to be the best version of yourself that you can be. We'll see you guys here on Dad Talk Today and The Big Show by Jimmy Smith social media platforms next Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. Until then, you guys take care, and we'll see you guys next week.